comet turns or how a comet appears at the end of a telescope as you're watching it approach. But my sense was that this could very well be part of the Red Star prophecy.
Right.
All right, and that prophecy states that you will know when the Red Star appears that the shit is going to hit the fan any minute.
Right.
All right?
Right. Yeah.
Is it okay to say that word?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, good. Okay.
Yeah.
What? Sometimes when you're talking on the radio, you can't say that word.
Yeah, no, we won't be bleeping that out.
All right, okay. Yeah, so maybe it's that, but I could see, the magnetic field is already going crazy.
Well, that's another aspect that we're aware of, right?
Oh my God! Well, can't you feel it?
Yeah.
I mean, how's your memory these days? Do you forget where you are?
God. Sometimes I feel like the slate's been wiped blank.
Yeah, no, and it is it Alzheimer's, Lance? I mean, I'm not really sure. I feel sharp as a tack, in so many other ways.
Right. Just don't try to pin up a piece of paper with a tack. No, I know what you mean.
Oh, no, I just don't know. I mean, I think probably everybody that's listening can relate to the whole idea of just, you're on your way somewhere and you totally forget where you are.
Oh, all the time now. And another thing I've noticed, that I'll be walking my dog in the nature walk to the mailboxes, and sometimes my legs feel like two telephone poles. I mean,
oh, my God.
So intense, I can hardly.
So maybe you're just maybe your body's already going into that. Men get to be 16 feet high in the fifth dimension. All right?
Could be.
Maybe you're just getting sort of like a preview.
Well, I don't know. But I'm trying to stay open to all possibilities, especially in the invisible realms that I may not be picking up, and obviously I'm not, because we know that the senses beyond our five senses are the real ones.
The senses, definitely, yeah. And my feeling was that, I think that's, what people don't realize is I think all of those senses are going to wake up in us, but I think that it's important now for the people, that have sort of been thinking about these things for a while to realize that those senses wake up and are commensurate with your spiritual development.
Yes.
All right, because there can be no ego attached to those powers.
Right, absolutely none.
Yeah.
If we start to get egotistical about it, then we'll either get smacked down or our progression will be halted. Yeah. And that's what I found, that I'm only allowed to move forward as long as my ego is in check and I have the right intent, which is to be of service to others.
Yeah. Always.
Yeah, and it's so important, too, to be able to acknowledge what's happening and not just mentally dismiss it by our left brain and say, oh, that was nothing, or that was silly. We need to acknowledge that was real, and that's what we can trust. That is our inner compass.
Yes.
It's the mind we can't trust that tells us that something is not real. And that's what will take us out on a false path. Yeah, when the mind tries to tell you what you're experiencing. It wants to classify everything and know what it is by name. And we're moving into realms that are nameless, telepathic, and psychic, and empathic. Yes. And I'm sure you've noticed that you've had, I've had a lot more empathic connections with people and calling and talking, and at the same time we'll call each other. I was just thinking about you, and so on and so forth. Yeah. A lot more of that, and a lot more synchronicities. Everything seems to be synchronous. I'm starting to feel like I'm just a little command center. Right. Yeah. I swear to God, because I don't think I leave the house. Right. It's like if you think about something long enough, it'll show up. Absolutely. Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting as far as that goes, because I think that if what we're being allowed to do, I think right now, is move into a greater level of trust. Okay, that all the things that we ascribe to, you know, in terms of understanding that we live in a world of abundance, that we are surrounded by unconditional love, that the universe is here to support us.
Right.
All right. And that there is nothing to fear, like all the situations that I, you know, would get into when I was younger that used to really put me into a fear state and complicate things. You know, now I just say, okay, isn't this interesting? Look what I have to play with. And then I try to work with the situation to see, okay, how can I turn this into a miracle instead of letting it, you know, bring me to some other place.
Right.
So, and that kind of stuff, I think if you talk to people, and I think that this is very important, you talk to everybody.
Yes.
You know.
Don't hold it in.
And find out exactly how they're feeling. Tell them how you're feeling. Ask them what's going on. Did you notice this today? You know, one of the things that's been happening here in Arizona is it's been cold. All right, now, we've had tons of really unbelievable wind, and it's been cold until the last 24 hours. Usually this time of year, it's not like that. There's so much going on with the engineered weather stuff right now. I was curious to hear. Have you heard anything about what's going on at the New Madrid Fault? Have you heard the latest gossip on that?
No, just rumors about them fracking and trying to, you know, engineer some kind of disaster.
This whole thing has been sort of going on ever since the Fukushima blowout. That gossip. And I had heard, like, a couple of years ago, you know, the Chinese had retaliated against the United States with some HAARP activity that was directed at the Midwest. The flooding in the Midwest, I think, was back in 2008, was so bad it really screwed up the food supply. Okay, now all this flooding that's going on up and down the Mississippi, you know, it's destroyed so much farmland that it's gonna wreck food prices. And now what they're saying is that the snow melt, you know, up north, Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, they had horrendous snows up there this year. All that snow hasn't even fully melted yet. And they're talking about the Missouri River flooding. And they're also talking about the fact that these floods are being engineered to sort of loosen up that New Madrid fault line so it'll be easier to crack it when they decide to zap it.
Well, now,
all right, now, what do you do with that information? It's horrible.
Well, of course, it is horrible, but we just adjust to the fact that everything they do is horrible. But is that to keep in alignment with some kind of biblical prophecy thing that they're acting out, or what?
Well, you know, you're probably right about that. Yes. Yes, they are like very making the best use of, you know, everybody's apocalyptic fears for sure.
Oh yeah, no question about that.
You know, and I don't know. I mean, I think there are a lot of ways of looking at this. I know that I actually was watching a documentary the other night about, you know, the evangelical contingent and their attitude towards all this. I mean, those people are really gearing up for the end, you know.
Well, we create
more in terms of, you know, stockpiling stuff and trying to find a safe place to live. I mean, I'm not exactly sure if they are going to be okay with all that, because I don't think it really is going to matter how much food you have stockpiled. No,
and the bottom line to that is it's a paradox, because if you truly are a believer and you have faith, no matter what your religion, creed, race, or whatever, then you know that your life is not this life. Your life is eternal and infinite in the realms of spirit. So trying to save your life is really kind of an exercise in a lack of trust and faith in your deity.
It's kind of oxymoronic, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, one thing I have heard is that, the whole thing with, when is the Earth's crust going to start to move around and how's all that going to work? That everybody is pretty clear that there is going to be some sort of really total cataclysmic event, all right? Yeah. My understanding of how that event plays out is that it's all related to the magnetics of the Earth and what happens when they disappear. And then there is this sort of like waiting period where they talk about the 3 days of darkness while everything shifts and you wait for the Earth to align with its new star. Oh, shoot, and I just lost my train of thought. Oh.
Well, that's all right.
I'm so bummed.
3 days of darkness and the new star.
3 days of dark. Oh, yes. And then once the light returns, the light returns, okay, and supposedly it's 3 days of darkness, and then boom, all of a sudden the lights go back on, and it's the brightest light you've ever seen. And that is, sort of heralding your entrance into the fifth dimension or the fifth world, where everything is, subject to thought. Okay, where thought and love are the operative words. So whatever you think about manifests. Now, my understanding is that we will need. There's going to be an adjustment period of about a month. It sounds so weird to even say it. There's supposed to be an adjustment period of about a month, and they say that if you're going to stockpile food, to stockpile enough food for a month. Yeah. All right. And then during that time, what we're all going to be sort of getting used to is how to create out of nothing. Right. And for some people, it's going to be easier to catch on than others. Of course, because we're already making these little baby steps now that we think are so cool, where the synchronicities that happen are like, wow, isn't that interesting? Well, it's all the time. That's the way it is. Okay, that's where we're going, to the place where thought and manifestation are instant. I agree with that. I think that's definitely where we came from and where we're returning. But what if the spirit of Gaia Sophia were to empower us, since we are of her and we are in her, to make adjustments so that we're absorbing the subtle energies, or the prana, as the breatharians do, such as Jasmine, and that we require less food. People who are used to eating 3 steaks at the 5-star restaurant a day might not be too happy about not being able to do that, but the more that we adjust spiritually, I think that we'll be fine-tuning the physical along with it, because they will become one. Well, you're absolutely right about that. The whole thing with Jasmine's work is that I think it would be smart for everybody to know how to do that. Mm-hmm. All right, because the whole thing of living on prana and sunlight, I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't remember to eat. I don't either. I don't remember to eat. I eat. When I'm eating, it's usually because I know I need to do something. But, I could easily go breatharian, I swear to God. Yeah. And I think that it's probably the best way to handle this, because I don't really think we're going to, we're not going to need food where we're going. Exactly. So there has to be some kind of transition period where, because we can't just go from 0 to 3,000 in one moment, but we might. That is a possibility, but it seems like there might be a transition period so that we just are gradually weaned off of, food, and that it's just a natural, effortless process that we don't have to work at. Yes. And the other thing that I was thinking, too, that you triggered a thought about, there's a gal named Anelia Benz that I love her. Isn't she amazing? Yeah.
I'm going to have her on the show sometime in the next couple of months.